horrible earthquake which has struck here more than 24 hours ago. And wherever you are watching this broadcast throughout the world, I hope you can hug a loved one close and thank God that you are not in Port-au-Prince tonight. But the Haitian people who are here want you to hear their stories, hear their stories, hear their stories.
I can't even describe to you how devastating the earthquake that struck Haiti in January 2010 was. People were homeless on the streets, dying, and everything around them just looked helpless. After hearing about the news, I got on my knees and prayed that God would help provide a way for me to go back to Haiti and help my people. Haiti was my birthplace, but when I was 6 years old, I was adopted by a wonderful American family that brought me to live with them in Washington State. It had been 13 years since I had seen anybody in my homeland, yet alone step foot in it. It would take years for Haiti to recover from such a tragedy, and the task at hand was way beyond me. But I remembered that when there was something big to be done, I could ask God to help me. I began meeting with my friends in high school, and we began praying and reading God's Word together. After reading through the story of Nehemiah, I was inspired by how he answered a call that God had given him to go back and rebuild the walls of Jerusalem that had been destroyed. I wanted to take the initiative to do something because I knew my people in Haiti were suffering. I knew I could not wait for someone else to do what God was calling me to do. So I assembled a team of 11 of my closest friends to go with me on my return trip to Haiti. And like Nehemiah did before he began rebuilding the wall, I observed what my people were going through and spent time with them. They were living in poverty. They had no jobs. They lacked opportunities and they were hurting. Now I had to trust God would help me find a way to help them. After returning to America, I began forming a nonprofit organization called Beyond Me Initiative, which was going to be dedicated to equipping and empowering people with resources and training so they can move themselves beyond poverty and aid dependency. And like Nehemiah assembled his people to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, I began assembling volunteers at my school, church, and different businesses to help me raise funds for community development projects all across Haiti. At first, we used music, arts, and put on beneficial concerts, events, and sold merchandise to raise funds for Haiti. By 2014, God had blessed our efforts, and we raised over $25,000. I journeyed to Haiti on a second trip to work alongside missionaries, churches, and 6 different organizations working to bring change in Haiti. Beyond Me was able to help with building orphanages, schools, homes that had been destroyed by the earthquake, as well as building cisterns to give people clean water. Beyond Me today focuses more on economic development and entrepreneurship, but the mission is always the same: taking initiative and serving others so they can experience the love of Christ in a tangible and effective manner. God gave me a vision, like Nehemiah, to go back to my country and help rebuild it after a devastating earthquake. God answered my prayer, and He showed me how to use my gifts and abilities to rally people together to serve Him. I was only a high schooler back then, but today I am a servant leader for Christ. I demonstrate His love to those in need. Servant leaders take the initiative and do what God is asking them to do. A tragedy doesn't have to happen before we take the initiative and do something about trying to help someone else. Every day we have opportunities to live beyond ourselves and choose to serve. We cannot wait for someone else to do what God is calling us to do.